in Chaom, Illinois. We're out on patrol in Rucksack or somewhere, I don't fucking know. Yeah, we out here looking for the not me, the Americans. Just out here walking on patrol. Got my shit on. Got my shooter. We out here walking. On patrol.
Hey guys, how's it going? Rock Ape History here. This video is a little late. See, I had finished recording all the footage before noting a problem with the audio. So instead of subjecting you to shitty audio problems, I've decided to just essentially redo the whole thing. Without further ado, I present to you the current state of my People's Army of Vietnam infantryman impression, circa 1966, 1967, something like that. Now let me just contradict that last statement about jumping into it without ado. I actually want to take a moment to say that this video is not a guide or a how-to on building an impression. I do consider myself slightly educated on the topic of the People's Army of Vietnam and the Vietnam War in general. That being said, I am the furthest thing from an authority on the subject. I possess no academic experience with the subject. I am a hobbyist historian researching for my own personal education and, for lack of a better word, entertainment. This video is simply serving as a progress marker for my personal impression. All that being said, I do stand by my impression with confidence as a work in progress. It is not perfect, and I am working to improve it. If you're somewhere along the impression journey with me, feel free to ask for advice, tips, knowledge, whatever. If I do not know the answer, I might be able to point you in the right direction. No promises though. Do your own research, everything with a grain of salt, yada yada yada. Now let's actually begin. We're going to be starting from the top and working our way down. Starting us off is my pith. This is absolutely not an original. Rather, it's a generic tourist pith from AliExpress that I've painted up by absolutely fucking nuking it with Krylon outdoor spray paint. I currently don't have the badge affixed, and 99% of the time, PAVN troops would remove them before combat, if not ditching them long before they even arrived in the South. I've also affixed a handmade by me net, which is, in fact, removable. Most of the time, in reality, the nets were a permanent fixture and non-removable. I chose to make mine removable for the fact that, in service with the PAVN, they were quite rare. Nets were more commonly used by the National Liberation Front, or Viet Cong to the cringe layman. Moving down, we arrive at my torso. I've got a handmade, shout out my mom, uniform top with a 3-cell Chaom chest rig, and a USGI pistol belt that we'll be looking at separately. A note about the Chaom. While I've seen similar looking examples to this chest rig in historical photos, I'm still calling it simply acceptable. It started life as a sage green Chaom, and in an attempt to dye it brown, I made it orange. After sitting dormant for a while, I brought it out to dye it again. I failed that dye job, but succeeded on the third attempt. The shade of the chest rig itself is, for all intents and purposes, perfect in color. A nice shade of very dark khaki verging on brown. But where it's farb is the straps and trim. As you can see, they're still green. No matter how much bleach is applied, they remain green. As I said earlier, I've seen a few historical photos of brown rigs with green trim and straps, but I'm erring on the side of caution and declaring it as only acceptable for use, not ideal. Luckily, my uniform top is a lot simpler. It's a modification of some generic 1950s outdoors shirt done up by a dear friend and graciously shared with me. The modifications mainly extend to the collar and the pockets. You can see the distinctive pointed pocket flaps and the rather exaggerated collar. Overall, I am very happy with my uniform as a whole and have no intention of replacing it for reenactment and living history purposes. Moving on down, we have my legs and feet. Not much to see here. My matching, still homemade uniform pants. These are based off of a matching pair of pants for the previously mentioned shirt pattern. Also modified to a lesser extent. It features only one back pocket on the right side, 2 slip pockets on either side, and most notably, a button and loop system at the ankles. This serves to protect the user's feet from insects, leeches, and other such hazards. I should note that while the uniform pants were generally quite baggy historically, mine are just a tiny bit baggier than normal. I had to add a piece of fabric as an expansion panel, as I'm a little bit of a fat ass, and I was too big for the original pattern. I am actively losing weight, and plan to remove the expansion fabric once I've unfucked myself. For my feet, I've got 2 options that I essentially switch between at my fancy. The first option is the classic, the lovable, the infamous Liberation shoe. This is a canvas high-top sneaker, not unlike Converse shoes. To be perfectly frank, I think Liberation shoes are more comfortable than Converse. The second piece of footwear I make use of is the classic tire, or Ho Chi Minh, sandals. I've actually made these technically wrong, as I made them out of the tire treads while they were historically made out of the sidewalls. Still, some examples of treaded sandals can be found, and this was such a pain in the ass I feel inclined to use them.
Now, let's take a look at my equipment belt, shall we? As mentioned previously, it's a USGI M56 pistol belt. Upon it sits a USGI bandage pouch, a crappy, awful, shitty, terrible reproduction angle head flashlight that I've fucked up, but I'm gonna be replacing soon anyway. A 2-cell grenade barrier with the world's worst replica grenades in it. I cut off the Farby shoulder straps and just use the belt loop, and it's good. Next is my Type 67 canteen. Very cool in its cover. And last, we have my rain cape that I have bound up with a little bit of hemp cord here. Yeah, hemp cord. And, yeah, it's just an old shower curtain that I butchered.
On my back is a modern production PAVN rucksack in reed green. I want to note that this differs slightly from actual wartime rucks, having a metal buckle for the center pocket and a rubberized mat pouch. However, these are minimal differences as far as I'm concerned. I would like to get a better reproduction, or even maybe an authentic one, but this fits the bill for the time being. Also, I must admit I have a soft spot for it. It is a modern Vietnamese-made rucksack. As far as I can tell, it is made for students taking part in their semi-compulsory National Defense Education courses. Essentially, they just have late high school, university kids do guerrilla warfare training. Being constantly invaded for a couple thousand years sure does a thing to a people, huh? Now let's look at my food system. I've got several enamel-coated metal bowls, common during the war. I've also got my rice tube, currently empty. I've got a set of military utensils from some country I'm not quite sure of in my dumb Western monkey brain, and some baby training wheel chopsticks. Additionally, I've got an Esbit stove, but this is strictly for emergencies during tacticals and is not part of my impression. I've got a couple sets of USGI gloves and socks, which were commonly used by PAVN and NLF forces. I've also got a couple custom soft packs of cigarettes. The design was made by someone else in the community, but I took it upon myself to custom make these soft packs. Before events, I make new ones. These are quite old. Now I'm going to be talking about my rifles.
Alright, real quick for anybody still watching, we're going to go over the differences between a Type 3 AK, known to 99.9% of the population as just an AK-47, and the AKM, also known to 99.9% of the population as an AK-47. But anyway, the most obvious difference between the two, in my opinion anyway, are the receivers. See, now I don't think this is the case for this one because this is a modern airsoft replica, but in reality, the Type 3 AK was milled. As you can see by that dimple there, that's what it looks like. You can tell the dust cover, nice and smooth, very different from an AKM as you can see. And no rail on the side. On the AK-74 and later, they had night rails for scopes. They called them night mounts, I don't know. AKM. stamped receiver, and this was actually stamped in a factory. That one, the airsoft gun here probably was. Reality, they were milled, which is just taking a big chunk of steel and carving it out. These stamped, a lot cheaper. Another major difference, hold on. As you can see, there's this dimple here, the bumpy handguard, but still no night rail. Another major difference, the handguards, as you can see. Big wood. Now this is bigger than normal because there's an airsoft battery in here, or battery motor in here. Same goes with this one. In reality, they're much smaller. Another major difference is, of course, the handguards. Nice and smooth, slab-sided, as one might say. No raised surface. This one, and this has been restained by my friend and I. So you can see there's a bit of a bump there. That's the only major difference in the handguards. Over here, you can see 4 little holes in the gas tube. And there's 4 more on the other side as well. The AKM lacks this, instead having little vents here at the front. All around. Not all around. Just on the sides. I'm dumb and cannot see. And of course, AK, that's just a plastic one I colored in with Sharpie. AK Type 3, that circular kind. AKM, that, I don't know, like siphon thing, kind. Something else I wanted to talk about in this video is this little beauty. The Can Run, or Can Zun. I'm not sure, still very new to learning Vietnamese. The classic black and white checker with the red line scarf. Now, these are cool. These are nice. These are awesome. But if you're using them for your North Vietnamese impression, you're just wrong, and you should stop. See, these are a southern thing, a South Vietnamese thing, and Khmer. For those of you who don't know, Khmer is Cambodia. And when I say Southern Vietnamese thing, I don't mean South Vietnam, like the Army of the Republic of Vietnam. No, these are a NLF, National Liberation Front, Viet Cong thing. These are worn by people who are born and raised in the South of Vietnam. This is very much a South of Vietnam and Khmer cultural thing. They weren't worn by the Northern Forces, as far as I know. I've never seen a picture of a Northern Vietnamese professional soldier wearing one of these. There might be a picture or two, but if a picture does exist, I guarantee it's a soldier who made his way from the South to join the professional Northern Army, just brought it with him. I've never seen the picture, and I don't think it exists personally. But it's muy bueno, Zeto, for National Liberation Front, Viet Cong, Khmer Rouge, if you're into that sort of thing. It's all great for those. Another piece of fabric that Vietnamese reenactors are obsessed with is U.S. parachute silk. This is a piece, I just got this on eBay. It was sold as a, World War II paratrooper helmet cover. I have reason to believe it's original. It certainly smells original. If you have World War II stuff, you know what I mean. A lot of people like to get these and turn them into little capes or scarves. And that's awesome. That's real. You can see that. This one's a little short. I didn't really get it for North Vietnamese Army. I got it for Viet Minh, Indo-Chinese War stuff, but it makes a nice little Scooby-Doo Fred Jones fucking ascot. If I want to be fashionable while I'm waging war in the jungle. But, I mean, it works. But this is I got this mainly as a cover for my pith helmet for Viet Minh. Now, some people have it in their heads that these were worn as helmet covers by North. To my understanding, that's not true. Pretty often, material like this was used by, again, National Liberation Front or Viet Cong guerrillas covering their rattan sedge hats, which is just wicker, usually bamboo, woven pith hats, right? it's just a pith hat, and they'd cover them with these because that was their style. But it really wasn't a thing in North Vietnam, in the North Vietnamese professional army. The most you'd see, the most I've seen, rather, is capes, scarves, things like that. Yeah. So again, if you're doing North Vietnamese army, take it off your helmet and put it around your neck. Like, not in a way, like use it as a fucking scarf or cape way. Looks pretty cool. But yeah, this is for Viet Minh stuff for me. Alright guys, thanks for watching my video on my People's Army of Vietnam 1966-67 impression. Hopefully I'll post something again soon. Maybe on this wonderful purple sweatshirt that I didn't fucking mention once in this video. You guys have a good one. No.